when you were introducing the podcast and the concept of it. You're not getting experts, you're getting people who are two step ahead. I think it's very important. As an international student, you're not supposed to monetize. I hit 100,000 plus. Harnoor reached out to me like, hey, can we do a podcast? Harnoor's at over 1 million subscribers now because he was consistent and he was giving good information without asking anything. I was like, let's try it out. How difficult it could be. Turns out it's very difficult.
How long did it take you to get to your first 1,000 subscribers?
When people resonate with the originality and the genuineness of a person who's giving away everything for free.
This is a waste of my time. Why am I even doing this?
If it's 100 people in a room, you would give it value. But if it's 100 views on a YouTube video, you are not giving it that much value. Man, I love these questions. Very, very good. Like, kudos. They're really good questions.
That's so cool to me that you built a custom GPT around. I'm Naman Pandey, and in this episode, my guest is Parth Vijayvergiya. Parth is one of the biggest study abroad creators coming out of India, and arguably the first of his kind. Being somebody that's followed his content on YouTube for a while now, it felt surreal to actually sit down with him and pick his brain. We discussed Parth's content creation journey, the numerous ups and downs, what it takes to find success on YouTube, the importance of always providing value, channel monetization challenges while on a student visa, and a range of other topics that any aspiring creator out there will massively benefit from. In keeping with our theme of learning from somebody that's just 2 steps ahead of us instead of an expert, my goal with this episode was to take a peek under the hood of the mind of a creator. I believe I speak for the hundreds of thousands of lives that is impacted when I say thank you for all that you do. This is the Ready Set Do podcast, and to support it, please subscribe to my channel. And now, my friends, without any further ado, my conversation with Parth Vijayvergiya. Welcome to the Ready Set Do podcast, where we learn from journeys of not experts who are just 2 steps ahead of us. Obviously, you don't really need that much of an introduction, but what I want to jump into here real quick is really the psyche or mindset of a creator. So just for context, I was looking at, I went to your YouTube channel, filtered your content to the oldest, and I realized, contrary to my belief, that you had started making content after moving to the US, once you were on that track for, being a student in the US, which is, quote unquote, fodder for content. I was actually wrong because I saw you were making content way before that was even a part of your life. So I'm really curious to, unearth what is it about being a creator that makes one a creator? Like, what makes you hit record on a vlog while covering Jaipur street food, for instance? So, like, if that makes sense, how did it all start for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big motivating factor for me when I was finishing my undergrad, right, between 2012 to 2016, I used to watch a lot of YouTube. YouTube was, of course, there's content and there's YouTube whenever you want to pick up something, right? So my favorite creators used to be Marcus Brownlee and Casey Neistat. I'm going to relate to so many people on this because I'm sure a lot of people love those content creators. And I've started watching Casey Neistat's video a lot. Initially, I did not plan to take a gap year, but I did take a gap year between my undergrad and grad studies.
I see.
And I was just trying to find out a different channel to take, like, to just like eliminate that extra energy from my body. I'm like, what can I do which could be creative and still be fruitful for long term? And I did go to an exchange semester in Sweden while I was still during my undergrad, and I started recording stuff. Just I had a Motorola Moto G phone, and I would record everything. My friends, I would take time lapse. I had this small tripod I would carry around. I would just film stuff with that, and I really liked it because I did buy a MacBook Air at that time, and MacBook have iMovie, which makes it super
Yep.
easy to edit. So I was like, all right, let's try it out. How difficult it could be. Turns out it's very difficult. Turns out to make it look like how these creators are making it look like, it's going to take me years to get at that point, and
Yeah.
I don't think I'm still at that point. Um, I think the beauty of these creators making these videos is how easy they make it look like. They
Love
make it
that.
look like,
Yeah.
anybody could pick up a phone, anybody could pick up a camera and make it happen. So I tried different things and I kept going at it because I was a student which had no hobby. I was not into sports. The only like PC game I would play was either Counter Strike or NFS. and that's also not very religious. Like I'm not good at it. I
Yeah.
just played at,
Right.
right? So I'm like, all right, what? This is a good hobby. I like doing it. It also gives me a reason to watch more content, to find try new things, and that's how I just started like making more videos. It kind of helped that one of my cousins, he's a photographer, so he had all of the
Hmm.
setup, right? He had lights, he had camera, he had mic.
Awesome.
So we decided that hey, we'll start a channel, and my channel used to be called something else at that time.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it was not by my name. So we both
I
would just
see.
go around, film. He would film, like I would be the speaker and he would be the one filming it, and then I would be the one editing it because I enjoyed that process a lot. And then I just kept going on and on and on. And, I think by I hit 1,000 followers and I've already made maybe 30, 40 videos by that time.
Really?
Um,
And
yeah,
sorry, and how long did it take you to get to your first 1,000 subscribers on YouTube?
it took a long time. It took me way more than few months, and there was no
Oh,
Instagram Reels or there was no TikTok.
it's actually funny you say that in that context because I was ready to hear you say that it took you years, but I mean, months, it really isn't that bad. I feel like that's still normal, right? Or would you disagree?
See, we come from India. India, mein, you have like 1,000 relatives who could subscribe to you. So
I
I
guess
had
that's
my
true.
cousins getting like subscribing to me. I had anybody and everybody, and my dad
Right, right.
was a big supporter, and
Awesome.
he's still a big supporter. So he would just promote my videos, and
Yeah,
anybody we would ask like, "Hey, do you want mind subscribing?" I don't remember the exact number, but it took us like months to get there,
I see. Got
um,
it.
and it was just we were not growing. Like even if we were getting
Hmm.
subscribers, we were not growing in the view counts, and that could be very disheartening for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And especially now when people think that it's easier to get followers, it's easy to get traction on your Instagram reels, on your podcasts. Podcasts definitely more difficult than Instagram reels or TikToks are. But it took us years to get to that. It took us months. Like imagine I put out my first YouTube video or my Facebook video in 2015, like end of
Wow.
2015. So from that to putting out some piece of content, and then in 20 end of 2016 hitting 1,000 subscribers, that's the years you are talking
Hmm.
about, right?
Okay, I see. I see.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, did you have a plan in mind in terms of like, I want to become this big, or I want to have, like 100,000 subscribers or whatever? Or was it mostly just like one video at a time? Like, I'm just going to upload my next video and whatever happens, happens. Like, so did you ever have those metrics in mind at all?
I'm not a big, like, I should be, but I'm not a big goal guy. So I thought we'll when you're starting a YouTube channel or anything, right? You're in a delulu phase, like a delusional phase, right? You think that why wouldn't people like this content? This is great
Hmm.
content.
Yep.
So initially, you are in a delusional phase. So we thought, why wouldn't people watch this content? We're promoting our city. We did Pokemon Go walks at that time. We did some tech videos at that time. So why wouldn't people like to watch that? And turns out it's very difficult to get attention from a new audience for
Yeah.
a zero, like for a very small YouTube channel. And
Yeah.
we didn't have Instagram Reels, or like we would upload those videos or snippets of videos as Instagram videos, but again, it was not enough to get that traction which people are getting now. Uh, so it was just like a learning curve for us again and again doing the same thing.
Interesting. And then, so it's again following your journey and just looking at, kind of your trajectory of your content. It really sounds like no matter what you were doing in life, like no matter what stage you were in, the thing that was constant was you putting out content. So from those early vlog days, I found out later that once you maybe started preparing for the GRE, I saw a bunch of content around, how to prepare for verbal or like tips and tricks around quant hacks and such. So, am I right in assuming that for you, it was always that almost parallel path that no matter what I'm doing in life, I'm going to keep making videos about whatever I'm doing and I'm going to stick to that? Am I right in assuming that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened was, I think I made a video on why you should avoid consultancies as my first video, because I
Gotcha.
was going through, like, going to different consultancies and talking to them, Luckily, I had some friends already in the US from a batch previous to me, so I
Hmm?
had some context on how to do this process. Um, but while I was going through this process, I realized like these guys are submitting or letting me know that you should be going to a subpar university. So I made that video, and then it got attraction. So I was like, all right,
Hmm.
this is getting some views. Maybe I keep continuing this because I'm already in this process of TOEFL and GRE and all of that.
Yep.
So I kept putting out one video a week. I think that was the metric I was following at that time. And a lot of people don't see that, along with the videos, I was actually very, very engaged with the audience. Any kind of comment,
Really?
any emails I was getting, I was responding to them. I was like, if I'm spending, let's say, 10 hours on a video and putting it out, after that, I'm spending 20, 30 hours in follow ups and emails and messaging people and replying on Instagram DMs to build that core audience, which now people, I feel like, take it for granted. But I was, so some of the people who have watched my videos in 17 and 2018, 2019,
Hmm.
they're still following on Instagram. They still
Yeah.
message me. There are some people I know very personally. I've never met them, but I just like being online, being helping them, and having conversations with them. I know their profile, what they're doing, and still follow them on LinkedIn and Instagram. That core audience really helped me push my videos. Every time I would push out a video, they would comment. I would take that feedback, push more content. So if they would ask me like, hey, I'm preparing for visa interview, how did you go about that? I would make a video about that, and I would
Hmm.
publish. So I would make a video, I would publish an Instagram post, I would publish a blog along with it, I would publish a checklist along with it, and then I would also had a Google group where I would give these documents away for free.
Wow.
All of these things just help um, promoting my YouTube content more. And then there was a point where the YouTube content, like YouTube audience, became bigger and bigger and bigger, and the Google group kind of died down. But that core audience was still there. So when I would push out a video, they would still watch it. That helped a lot.
That makes a lot of sense, Parth, especially around that concept of how you're more likely to recommend somebody to your friends that you know personally, that you have that personal touch with or connection with. And it
Yeah,
really sounds like you were working really hard, clearly, because all of that stuff that you just laid out must have taken you hours to push out. And I guess another really cool call out on that is it's funny that you had that Google group at the time, which essentially in today's day and era is, your subscription lists on Instagram. I feel like they're in concept the same exact thing, right? So
pretty much.
it almost sounds like you were doing that ahead of the curve at a time where others were not even doing that. So
Absolutely. And I was giving away any information, everything I had. I was not holding back on anything. And I think people resonate with like the
mhm.
originality and the genuineness of a person who's giving away everything for free. And I still continue to do so, where I'm created guides and I just give it away. Um, and that has helped me. You also asked me about consistency, right? So being consistent, where one week I uploaded one video a week, and then when I went to Purdue I was uploading like twice a week. And
Really,
I continued
wow.
doing that. Yeah, I continued doing that because I felt like that was the only thing which will keep me growing and will keep me um, hooked. As soon as you stop uploading, because your audience is expecting a
Hmm.
new video every week or every 2 weeks, right? If you're not
Hmm.
uploading, then all the social channels are also not promoting you as much. They also see the consistency.
That's so interesting to me. Because mostly because I'm kind of in that boat-ish, if you can say that, even though definitely not at that same scale yet, I bet. But I guess were you ever bogged down by when, say, you put out a video? Obviously, I know how much work goes into each video, even if it's a little 6-minute video, it's still hours of work, and I know
Yeah,
that, and I'm sure you know that.
yeah,
But were you ever bogged down by those videos not doing well, and at any point were you like, this is a waste of my time. Why am I even doing this? Like, I should just quit.
absolutely. 2017 to 2024, we are almost at 7 years now, right? There's a lot of times where you just feel like, what am I doing? Why am I wasting my time? Why am I investing so much time? And there has been times where I've taken significant amount of breaks, like months at and I've not uploaded anything. um, and then I go get back to it. I think when you need to realize the fact that even if you put out a video and let's say 1,000 people watch it, right? Let's say 1,000 people do not finish the video, but 100 people are watching the whole video. Imagine a room where 100 people are watching you presenting on a content, right? If it's 100 people in a room, you would give it value. But if it's 100 views on a YouTube video, you are not giving it that much value. So that if you understand that, hey, every view you're getting is somebody actually clicking on your video and consuming what you want to speak.
Hmm.
I am there's so many videos I watch on a daily basis, like podcasts, and I listen to all of them. And uh, I might not even watch their face at times. I'm just listening to them while I'm driving or while I'm doing, chores. So if somebody is investing that much time, like I've spent hours in some content creators, if they stop uploading, I'll be sad about it. If they stop uploading, where am I getting going to get my legit information from, all the trust which I've built? So that's how I
Hmm.
feel like, even if 2,000 people, 3,000 people, or 40,000 people watch my video, I know that there's like that set of 300 people who are really watching it and who are invested, and who trust me to get them the correct information.
I love that call out. And to add to that, Parth, I feel like the difference here also that a lot of people don't realize, that I myself realized just watching a podcast with Mr. Beast, actually, is who said that. But he was like, it's not even just that you're in a room where those 100 people are listening to your analogy, but those 100 people have chosen to invest their time in your video. Like they had a finite amount of time to click one of the thumbnails that they saw on YouTube, and they clicked yours. And it is in a way, at least to think about it, your duty to make sure that their investment, they get back something from it, which I feel like maybe inherently you did realize that regardless. But I just wanted to tack that onto your very amazing point around not disappointing these people that expect stuff from you. So moving on from that, I guess,
I do
at
want to add
what
one
point?
thing to
Yeah,
it.
please.
I think what you mentioned initially, right, when you were introducing the podcast and the concept of it, that you are in, you're not getting experts, you're getting people who are two step ahead. I think it's very
Hmm.
important factor, right? What people, what we have all considered as a good metric to judge someone is that, oh, how many views is this person getting?
Yeah,
I don't think that's a good metric. The person, like anybody who's uploading a video, they think that they have some value to give. So it doesn't matter if a person has 1,000 views or 5,000 views. Sometimes that 1,000 view person might be able to give you that information which you're exactly looking for. You
absolutely.
might not find it in the 5,000 view person, right? And that's how people, like when I was making YouTube videos, right, I started, um, there was that Indian guy, there was other few other creators at that time, and somebody actually trusted in me to give legit information, and I
Yeah.
thought I did a justification that if they're investing time, I would give them that information. When I hit 100,000 plus, Hanu reached out to me like, "Hey, can we do a podcast?" And I'm like, "Or can we do a video together?" I was like, "Hey, do 100 videos, and then we'll definitely do something." Hanu's at over 1 million subscribers now, because only because he was consistent and he was giving good information without asking anything from the student.
Hmm. And wait, sorry. So to clarify, he was the one that reached out to you, or vice versa? Sorry, I didn't
No,
follow
he
that.
reached out to me.
Okay.
I still have that message somewhere, but he reached out to
Wow.
me. He reached out to Harsh Gosar, that Indian guy, um,
Okay.
and then I still like he just reached out like, "Hey, I've
Right.
started this YouTube channel," and he made a bunch of YouTube channels. The only way and the only reason why he grew to 1 million was because he showed up. Freaking, he showed up so hard, like he was there every day in people's feed, and making content, good content, watchable content, entertaining content, right? And that consistency goes a long, long way.
That's actually so crazy. And the only reason I had to have you clarify that is because, in my mind, for whatever reason, I always thought that Sing in USA, right? That's his
Yeah,
channel name.
yeah.
I thought he had started way before even you, actually. But it sounds like that's not the case, which is
No,
crazy. Like
he
that's blowing
started
my mind.
way, not way later, but like a year or two
I
later.
see, I see. Got it.
And yeah, he just there was a few videos which blew up, but
Yep.
क्या होता है कि we think that, oh, I need that viral video, but if you upload like 50 videos, one of them will go viral, and
Yeah.
there are 49 other videos which the new audience which has come through the viral video can watch. Now
Mm-hmm.
you're doing a podcast, right? You have 11 episodes, you said.
Yep. So
So
as of
if somebody's
recording this, yeah, I have 11.
okay, perfect. So if somebody's watching this, there's 10 other episodes they can go and watch and they can get interested in. But
Yep.
if you're starting from the top, then they don't have anything else to go to.
Hmm.
What
Right.
you will subscribe to?
Exactly. Yeah. It's because obviously, yeah, a lot of times people, or even myself, I'll go to a channel and see that they have like 4 videos across 6 years, and those videos are really good. But I would be like, why? What's the point of subscribing to this person when they're not even, taking themselves seriously for that matter?
Absolutely.
But amazing. So I guess shifting gears a little bit, I'm very curious to hear, was there ever a singular point or points in your YouTube journey where it first started becoming evident to you that this could really be something? I might be onto something here. I think this is something. And you know what I mean, like that feeling of excitement where you hit, I don't know, like a 50,000 views on a video, and you're like, this is crazy, and it's like a dopamine bath, and you just don't know what to do. So did you ever have that, or was it just really consistent for you?
No, I definitely had that. A few of my videos did really well. Suddenly, like there was a spike of subscribers, there was a spike in views. But I think I was more excited to hit the 10,000 number than the 100,000 number, just because 10,000
Really?
felt like a bigger achievement than the 100,000 one. Uh, it was difficult to get the 1,000 subscribers, more difficult to get the 10,000 subscribers. Or actually, it was kind of a little bit easier because then you get into the flow, right? Then you have picked
Hmm.
up a niche, then you get into the flow, you know the process, what works, what doesn't work. And by the time I hit 10,000, I think I probably had like over 150 videos already.
Wow.
um, so by the time I hit 100,000, the excitement dropped down a little bit. I was excited because I would get the play button, which was very exciting. But the excitement went down because by that time I did meetups, I did events, big events with 500 people in auditorium. Um, any university, I get recognized by like students here or there, which was way more fulfilling for me than like a number on a channel.
Yeah.
um,
Yep.
when I was traveling with my parents in 2019, there was we were doing like, so you always do East Coast, right? You go to Boston on different universities, and we were in
Hmm.
New Jersey, and somebody recognized me at the train, and like that's a big deal. So I felt more,
That's so cool. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah, I felt more happy about that. And then same thing happened at ASU, U of A. If I'm going to a like a cafe or a restaurant and some students are working, it's very fantastic to get recognized for your work which you
Yeah.
have done.
Yeah. And actually that prompts the question. So at which point did you kind of start taking your brand? I don't want to say taking it away from YouTube, but I guess how were you able to, manifest that physically with these events that you referenced? Like, how did that come to be?
I think so. It was all um, self motivated, self started.
Okay.
What I did was I was trying to figure out how could I do a meetup, right? Because in 2017, 18, like a lot of creators were doing meetups, but I'm like, if
Interesting.
I'm gonna do meetups, nobody's gonna show up to meet me unless I'm giving them some value. So I
Yeah.
reached out to USIEF Mumbai and Hyderabad. Actually, USIEF Mumbai and Bangalore. And so USIEF stands for US India Education Foundation.
Okay.
Or
That's helpful.
yeah,
No, no, that's helpful. Yeah.
yeah, US India Education Foundation. So what they do is they help a lot of undergrad students with information, with providing a space for them, whoever wants to come to the US for higher education or for undergrads as well. And I reached out to them in Mumbai and Bangalore, and I'm like, hey, do you have space for doing these kind of events? And they agreed to it. And in Mumbai, I did 2 sessions with 50-50 students, which was good.
Wow.
I created a presentation, talk about how to study abroad, what you need to do, and all of that. And same thing in Bangalore. Bangalore was a little bit smaller, but it was so much fun to talk to them in person, interact. And Harsh Gosar, that Indian guy, he also came in the Mumbai event and he talked as well. And in 2019, then a company reached out like, hey, we would love to organize this for you. In 2020, same thing, right? So now every time I go to India, I try to do an event like this because online is great, but the physical connection and that mental presence you have in somebody's brain when you're meeting them in person is significantly more important to me. And I see that I've made an impact in all of these lives. It's it's a great motivator for me to continue this journey, and it's also a good way for students to ask questions because at the end of the day we really trust people who we have met in person more than who we have met online only, right?
Yeah. Do you think it's possible to grow on YouTube without having that genuine motivation to help people and purely be driven by, that fame aspect of it that, hey, I want that play button, I want whatever X subscribers, without, genuinely wanting to add value to people's lives? Do you think it is still possible or is that a must have, according to your perspective, to, explode on YouTube?
That is a very, very good question. There are people and there are companies who are like faceless, who do animations, right, for kids videos, and um, it's a company, it's a full-fledged business, and their main motivation is to making money. Same with BuzzFeed, same with Kuku, Pop Extra, Diva, all of these channels. Um, their main motivation is just to grow, feed this production machine, and make more money in return. I think individual creators, it's a different story. Individual creators can either give to people entertainment or value. And that's why on YouTube or Instagram, individual creators always are more successful than these production houses. Why? Even with the production houses, if you see BuzzFeed's like old videos where they had individual creators and they kept bringing those individual creators and make videos with them, that always did better than some random people showing up and making a video. Uh, I think it goes both ways, but I always tell them like, hey, don't people who are starting off new, don't get demotivated by not getting too many views, not getting brand deals, like, or not getting any money from it. Over time it's going to pay off. Like, I have gotten so many opportunities, priceless opportunities, to be able to do all of these because of my YouTube. Even if I'm not uh, you know able to monetize my content because of the visa and everything, I'm able to go. Speaking at Harvard this morning, speaking to Harvard students, upcoming Harvard students, that's a great opportunity I was able to only get because of this, right? Putting your work out there always helps. Same with my work. Like, I did a cohort of 60 students where I taught them construction management. Getting a job at my current company, I was actually able to present that as a key factor that, hey, I'm helping out these students understanding construction management in the US. And they were like, you should have started with that. Why didn't you start with that? That's a very, very good value we are looking in people who wants to help other people grow in the industry. And I just, you will be surprised how beneficial it is for you looking at other aspects of your content creation journey.
I was a bit startled, to be fair, about what you said about how you've not been able to monetize your channel. That's kind of shocking to me. Are you willing to speak at all on why that is,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
if there's a workaround at all?
As an international student, you are not supposed to monetize. So I'll be very transparent about it. If I'm going to India and if I'm doing any kind of deals, I would make a deal there, and I would always do any kind of monetization deals there. But when I'm in the US, I
Okay.
can't monetize my content because of
Huh.
USCIS rules.
That is crazy.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
And it's somewhere in the future, at some point, if you were to move back to India, would that still be a possibility, or are you doomed now because your channel is like, yeah? How does that work if you're aware at all?
Yeah, if you move back to India, if you move to Canada or a country which allows you to do multiple jobs on a certain visa, then yes, you can
Hmm.
monetize your content completely, no problem at all. Even if you
I
created it
see.
in the US. So even if I create a content in the US and when I'm going to India, I want to monetize all of it. Yeah, if as soon as you're
Interesting.
outside the US, you want to do whatever you want, you can do. You can do. People go like people go to India, do any kind of monetization deals and come back. Just because legally we are not allowed to do that on the visa, uh, because it becomes like you're actively working on certain things.
Hmm.
And I knew that my YouTube channel is like it has grown, but it's not that every video of mine is going viral, right? So I'm not losing that much money. So I'm like, I might as well not risk it.
That's actually, like the really interesting part of that, which I just realized actually is you continuing to do this despite being aware of this fact that there is no monetization, there is no like literal tangible money gain, actually speaks to your, really work ethic and your actual desire to help these people out there. Because I mean, yeah, it's a thankless job. You're literally doing it for because you love it. It's literally as simple as that. And I think
Yeah,
something has to be said about that being really impressive to me for sure.
I'm not saying that I didn't make money, but I'm
Yeah, no,
saying
for sure. Right, right,
I didn't
right,
make money on my YouTube content as much as I could
right.
have. So I appreciate your words, but it's again there is workarounds if you're traveling back home, if you're traveling somewhere else. As soon as you're outside the US, you can do you can do deals and you can make money
Yeah,
during that time. So use that time. USCI,
yep,
like they just want to make sure nobody's like exploiting their
yeah,
content. That's the only thing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then I guess again shifting gears just a little bit, if somebody were to start, I guess we'll just pick you. If you were to start a YouTube channel today, having known what you know now, I guess what are some things that you would do differently in terms of a blueprint? So obviously keeping aside the stuff that's a given, like you need to be consistent, you need to not give up after like 3 months or whatever. But I'm trying to really peel back the onion a little bit in terms of your know-how that you accumulated over the past 7 years. What are, I guess, some really underrated things that an outsider probably would not know, but that actually make a big difference in terms of growth? We'll just stick to the growth metric for now. Any call outs there?
100%. So a few things. I think Gary Vaynerchuk from Vayner Media, he talks about this a lot. Um, that give value, 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 a lot of value. How would I do it differently now? Is I would have like I still have multiple verticals, but I would have multiple verticals from starting. Right? I would have Instagram Reels, and I would do long form content also. People
Okay.
underestimate the reach and the impact of long form content by a lot. They think like short form content we are getting views, but long term like long form content will be the only thing which is giving immense value. People watch short term content, short value content, like so this happened in the past few years a lot, that people would recognize me but they wouldn't know my name. They're like, hey, you're the Instagram guy because my reels blew up. I'm like, I don't like that.
Huh.
I want to keep being Parth. People recognize me for Parth. People recognize me for my long form YouTube videos. And they're like, oh shit, who do I look up to when there's a oh shit moment, right? Um, and so I keep continuing long form videos, but also have that vertical of short form videos and upload it everywhere. Don't hesitate to upload. Just click that upload button. Don't think that this is not up to the mark. This is not quality content. You should watch my first videos. They were
I
like,
have.
yeah, some of the videos were just, it was so awkward. I wasn't this fluent in speaking. Um, but if I would be nervous at that time, or if I would be hesitant to upload that this is not up to the mark, I would never get to a point where, I'm
Yeah.
sitting here with you and giving advice to people.
And then, so I guess on the topic of short form content, do you approach that differently from long form? I guess so. Apologies, I'm not super familiar with your short form content, but is it kind of the same? value just packaged in a shorter manner, or do you go for more? Because I have seen a few creatives do more, like humor type or relatable type content that people like to share, and that gets a big traction that way. Or do you stick to your mantra of value, value, value with your short form stuff as well?
Short form is a bit different for sure. It's a lot less effort. It takes me like 45 minutes to prepare short form content as compared to like hours to create a long form
Yeah,
content, scripting, writing, guiding, shooting, filming, editing, and then um, making sure thumbnails good to go, descriptions good to go. Short form content, usually, yeah, like I would make a long form content, then I would do a short form content. And I would relate. For example, let's say today I spoke for the Harvard Graduate School of Education talking about finances, right? So that would be my hook. Like, hey, these are the advices I gave to Harvard students this morning. If you want, read the caption. I would hook them in. They read the caption.
gotcha.
They watch my videos. It get decent views. Um, but the main reason for your short form content is to push people to your long form content. That's, I think, it's like a big funnel. Short form content is the big funnel, your long form content's here, and then like end product is whatever you're
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
promote or trying to sell, or trying to get people to.
Okay, and so that's really reassuring for me to hear, because that's kind of what I've been striving to do. Again, very, very new to all of this, obviously, but in my mind, that framework that you referenced about the big funnel and small funnel has made sense. I guess what I do struggle with, and hopefully I'm speaking for a vast majority of creators out there like me that are just starting out on the journey, but do you have any specific call outs for making sure that that link is maintained for somebody that watches my reel is like, okay, sure, cool, or whatever, but then just forgets about it, like you said, like, because you're just incentivized to keep swiping up, and the way it's, put forward in front of you almost prevents you from wanting to go anywhere else. Like the whole point of reels or short form content is to keep you glued and just, that up swipe mechanism. So do you have any specific call outs against how to break that chain, create a barrier big enough for that person to in fact go on my like YouTube channel and look at my bigger or longer stuff?
Yeah, man, I love these questions. Very, very good. Like kudos. They're really good questions. I think that link. I think you hook them in, right? Let's say we talked
Okay.
about something. You don't give them everything in that reel. Let's say we talk about finances, right? You cut it out in a short, but you don't give them the complete answer. You cut that reel out where
See.
they would need to click the video to watch like what was the answer for about. Or this is what I've seen also. People always like cut very juicy part of long form content, cut. They're not giving any of the answers. They're just like prompting that question in the user's mind, and then they're like, "Hey, link in bio or link in stories. Go watch."
Yep.
And I've done multiple times where I watch that reel. I'm like, shit, what is the answer to that? I would love to watch this. This is very interesting. I would go watch that. That's the only way for you to have that link going. Having the
Okay.
same name channel helps because sometimes people have their different username on Instagram versus on their YouTube channels or on their podcast. Having the same name helps. And even if you don't have same name, like let's say you're Naman Pandey on Instagram, and then you would do a line and you would write your podcast name so that they could look that up.
Yeah. Wow. That I have definitely not been doing that. So I love that takeaway from that, because yeah, so
Right.
far I've just been like applying the one formula that I was told by yourself and other people like you, that value, value, value. So I just snip out 1 minute of like hopefully what is valuable for somebody, and then just put it there. And yeah, like I haven't, done exceedingly well. It's just, like whatever 3,000 people have watched it.
It's
But yeah.
3,000 is amazing, man. I used to get 9,900 views in my first YouTube video. So 3,000 is amazing on a reel. Remember this, like what you can do, Naman, is also that on the first day when you're releasing this podcast, you can do that question prompt cut, and then upload that. And then from second day onwards, what you can do is like you can actually create reels out of it and then upload that.
Yeah.
Um, so
Okay.
that the first day you get some traction of people watching it. And reels are very dynamic, right? I'm uploading the reel today, people are watching it a week later. So you don't know
Hmm.
what's gonna come first. If your trailer reel comes first or
Uh-huh.
whether your value reel comes first. Use it as an
Absolutely.
experiment as if you're starting out.
That makes sense. And do you have any perspectives on the, I guess, the lifetime of content? Because it feels like, to my naive, sense of what I have so far, is that reels have a surprisingly short
Oh,
lifespan. Like
100%.
once, right? Like once a week goes by, that reel might as well have not even existed. YouTube, on the other hand, will continue to potentially rack up views as long as the YouTube is around.
Yep.
Is that something that you plan for in some way or optimize for that in a manner, or is that just like a fact of life?
Yeah, no, 100%. See, like, let's compare reels to news articles
Okay.
and YouTube short form or YouTube long form content to books. People will always go back to books. Nobody's reading 1 week old news. Nobody's reading 1 year old news unless they're looking specifically for a certain information. Plus Instagrams and YouTube
Yeah.
shorts. YouTube shorts still better, but Instagram searchability is absolute pathetic. You can't search like, hey, what happens if I lose my passport in the US? What
Yeah.
happens if I get a RFE for my STEM extension? But they can search it on YouTube and
Yeah.
get actual good content. That's why I keep promoting long form content. Um, and in long form content, give as much value as you can. Short form
Yeah.
content, do the prompt thing.
Again, going back to your point about the funnel, makes sense. And then I guess the other thing I was curious to get your take on is, how do you, first of all, is it important to kind of grow consistently across the various social media? So, for at least for people like you and me, LinkedIn is a big name that gets thrown around. Would you have a recommendation around if somebody just skips all of that and focuses just on YouTube and on Instagram just to kind of funnel their views in? Or would you say there is a lot of benefit to be gained from leveraging Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, I don't know, any and all social medias that exist?
If it's your full time job, absolutely leverage everything. If it's not your full time job, it gets difficult. It gets very difficult for you to even make reels out of things, right? My recommendation would be um, the type of content you're creating, right? If you're creating a content which is relevant to people on LinkedIn, I would post it on LinkedIn. Like talking about construction
Mm,
people, talking about computer science people. Students would like to watch that kind of content on LinkedIn. But if I'm talking about like what happens if your STEM extension get RFE, maybe not so much. Like why would I?
yeah,
But
yeah,
I would share articles on LinkedIn, and then you can always repurpose. Like let's say you learned a lot of things today, you summarize that in a post and post it on LinkedIn and make a reel out of it on Instagram as well.
I
So
see.
same content, three places, audience is different. Um, so I grew to 100,000 plus on YouTube way before I even hit 10,000, or I think I hit actually more than 10,000, but I hit 20,000 followers on Instagram.
I see. I see.
I had 22,000 followers and I grew to 100K followers within like a period of less than 2 months on Instagram just by putting
Wow.
out reels. So and I never focused on Instagram that much. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to make reels every day. And I did that for a few weeks. It blew up, Instagram blew up, and I continue to do so. Um,
Hmm.
but again, if you have a full-time job, it's difficult to focus on everything. That's why
Right.
I'm like, sometimes I'm very active on LinkedIn. I have like 30,000 plus followers, I think. And if I keep continuing to be active on LinkedIn for the next 2 months, maybe I'll hit 50, 60,000. It's not difficult to do that.
Yeah.
As long as you're producing juicy content on LinkedIn, people are gonna like it. People are gonna go to your profile, and that's a follow right there.
Interesting. I actually find it really notable that you have a decent, at least a ballpark figure in your mind for your count of followers across all these platforms. I think, to me, that's kind of interesting because I just feel like after a point, when I imagine me being possibly in your position one day, I actually would probably have no idea how many thousands Because as you said, after a point, it's just zeros after a number. So I guess my what I'm getting at here is, first of all, do you agree with that or not? And second of all, how do you deal with that? I mean, it is fame. There's no beating around the bush here. It is literal fame. So, like, does it get to you? Does it change your life in some way? Does it make you different? I'm kind of curious to hear how you deal with, just all the dopamine every single day that just is flooded to your brain by.
Yeah,
So,
great, like great parallels you put there. That there's a lot of dopamine for sure. Like anytime you upload, you hit a dopamine rush, right? You're gonna get views. You're checking how many views you got. Is it lesser views that you're going down? I think there was so if you're getting lesser views, like for example, my YouTube videos are getting under 5K views sometimes, and I don't care about it as long as I'm uploading it. Um,
hmm,
but it took me years to get to that point, right? Um,
interesting.
it took me like this is the sixth, seventh year of content creation. So at this point, like I'm happy I'm creating content, I'm happy I'm giving some value, but if I'm not getting views, all right, let's move on, go to the next one. And this is uh, a thing which you listen to from a lot of people. They'll figure
Hmm.
out what they're doing wrong, why did they didn't go well, but then they move on to the next piece of content. And having a following number is like, usually I have a ballpark figure, right? Like, of course you don't have the exact number, but 141K on Instagram, 182K I think on YouTube, and then LinkedIn is like some 30K followers also. It's just you check it sometimes and you just remember that number. So
Yeah,
yeah, and
absolutely.
the fame thing is, again, it's by getting fame there, it's not helping me doing any better on my job. So if I don't
True.
perform on my regular job better, like good, I'm not going to be promoted. I'm not going to get raises. I'm That'll be a struggle for me. So
Hmm.
keeping these two separate should be your aim. Just don't let it cloud your thinking and
Yeah,
your
yeah.
work ethic. Build
Yeah,
upon
and
it.
start feeling like I'm invincible, like I don't need to worry about all of
Mhm.
these
You go up,
side
you go
stuff
down
like my
really
job.
quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for that amazing deep dive. Just on the last segment for this, I kind of want to, shine a light on editing, I guess, because from what I hear, it's an integral, possibly even more important than, like the actual act of recording itself. But if you cannot hook your viewer in the first 30 seconds, they've already clicked away. You can have the best video in the world, and if your thumbnail isn't as good, nobody's going to click on it, so it's a waste. So first of all, like, yeah, do you do everything by yourself? And if so, what are some, I guess, nifty tricks or tools or resources that you've learned over the years that have really helped you, be efficient and optimize the act of editing your video and to make that thumbnail? And if at all those are things that you even worry about, because maybe you don't, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I worry about it. I think YouTube started like after Mr. Beast and Ali Abdal's videos, right? Like everybody uses first 30 seconds thumbnail, first 30 seconds thumbnail is the
Mm,
50% of the work you have to do. It's very important. Why would you, if you see a thumbnail, that's the video you want to click, a title, that's the word click to, right? And then 30 seconds is hooks you in if you're good editing. So what I done is like I usually edit on Final Cut Pro. I use
okay.
Canva a lot for all of the graphics of mine. And then I do have a video editor who does like first cuts for me. He
Awesome.
cleans up. That saved me a lot of time. And then for graphics and everything, I usually just create it. Um, I batch produce content. So let's say today I'm gonna do like 2 videos or 3 videos, and tomorrow I'm gonna do 2, 3 videos
Okay.
all together as well. And then throughout the weeks, whenever I'm getting time after work, whenever I'm getting time on weekends, I would edit that and start uploading it. On thumbnails, really look at what other people's
Mm,
content has done well, and then I use AI a lot. I use ChatGPT a lot to,
really.
yeah, to figure out what kind of like I've created is I've created a custom GPT. As soon as I put the topic or like a little bit of description of um, of what kind of video I'm making, it'll automatically give me 20 titles, and I've customized
Interesting.
it to that it's going to be in a order which is like SEO friendly. So first would be most viral, second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh. So it gives me 20 ideas like that. Um, and that's how I've been started to use AI a little bit, and then in the scripting part, it gives me the
Mhm.
basic structure, but then I have to add in a lot of like personal anecdotes and share
I
my own
see.
stories in that. Um, but Canva has been game changer for thumbnails, for graphics, for any kind of photos, removing backgrounds. I live in Canva and Final Cut Pro.
That's so cool to me that you built a custom GPT around that because I have actually looked up specifically how you can use AI to be, better or more efficient at this. And that's not actually something I've ever heard anyone else talk about. But now that you mention it, it actually makes a lot of sense. So I think that's an amazing call out.
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess the other thing on that was, at what point would you recommend that a person that's starting out, at what point would they be considering or should they be considering getting an editor to help with that entire process? Do you have any take on that, or is it purely subjective to how much time the person has to spare?
Yeah, I think it's purely subjective, right? Initially, I had a lot more time. Now I have a lot less time.
Mhm.
Focusing more on like health and focusing on more on like family
Yeah.
time. So I got less time to spend on editing now. That's why I hired an editor. But for the first 3 4 years, I always just edited all my videos, all my vlogs. I loved the process. I loved putting music into it. I love um, making those cuts. And when I was doing daily,
Hmm.
like not daily, weekly vlogs with my friends and everything, it was just fun to rewatch it and make it a nice piece of film movie, right? Like it's a short film. um,
Yeah.
with with the value content, right, with the value added videos, they're pretty cut and dry. Like you make it,
Fair.
my editor can do most of the job. He can help me download content from online and save me some time, but you have to set up
Hmm.
that processes with them. Actually, the
Hmm.
editor who I have right now, he works at City in India, and he has been a friend of mine. He came to one of the meetups at USIEF in
Wow.
2018. So I've known him for like solid 6 7 years. I know him, his wife.
Got it.
Um, we keep in touch, even though he's not editing my videos sometimes.
Yeah.
But and he's watched all of my videos. That's why he knows exactly where to cut it. So
Hmm.
that's why it's difficult to find good editors also.
Yeah, it really sounds like what you're saying is you almost need to have that connection with the person. And I mean, I'm sure you could possibly use just any person, but it obviously
Still
helps.
could. Yeah, it helps.
Yeah, if you have that, if somebody knows you and that kind of understands your content and the type of, cuts, like all those J cuts, L cuts that you usually do. Because again, yeah, it's your brand that is being worked with here.
Yeah.
Um, Absolutely. Like, honestly, I feel like I myself have learned so much during this entire session here. But those were really all the questions I had. I want to leave the floor open for you to have or to share any advice, maybe outside of the stuff that we already discussed. I feel like we covered the gamut, at least in my head, of everything that usually people or myself usually that I find myself thinking about. But just want to give you the chance in case I might have missed anything. Is there any other advice or call out that you think is worth mentioning to somebody that's starting today or has just started their YouTube journey?
Yeah, don't get demotivated. Like remember, any fun videos you're making with your friends or with your family, or any vlogs you're making for travel, that'll just be a fun family movie you'll be watching like 10 years down the line. Keep that in focus, like make it fun. For example, like even now, if I'm going home or if I have family over, I would record those clips just so that I quickly edit it in Final Cut Pro and upload it as a unlisted video on my YouTube channel,
Uh,
because I would want to watch that like 5 10 years later, where I see all my cousins are very young and they're having fun,
mhm.
and that was a memory I had with them. And it's like there's one, my favorite video on my YouTube channel is one which I made with my family. uh, in 2019 when my parents visited from India, and I made that
Mhm.
video. That's like a 20 minutes video, and it com- it had like we've traveled for over 20 days, and it had videos from every different city we visited, and that was so much fun to make. And I can still watch that and relive every moment which we had, and that was so much fun. And like there's a reel with my wife, we went to San Diego last year, and it's so much fun to watch that reel back and like just live those memories again, right? So
Yeah.
if you're focusing on like fun content, family content, just think about it like, oh, 10 years later it'll be so much fun to watch this again, and make it with that thing in mind.
Parth, it's been such an absolute pleasure to sit down here and learn from you. And having being somebody that is a fan of your content and has been for a while now, I would like to first of all thank you for all of the value that you add to all of the Indian immigrants and other countries' immigrants' lives. And I hope to continue to watch you grow and learn from you for many many more years to come.
Yeah, hopefully, man, you'll with all these podcasts, right? You'll cross me pretty soon if you keep doing this. Just be consistent with it. All the best with what you do, and thanks for having me here. It was absolute pleasure. It was so much fun to talk content for an hour. I don't get to do that often.
That brings us to the end of episode 20 of the Ready Set Do podcast. I'd like to thank you all for sharing these conversations with those that continue to benefit from. If you would like to support me, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave me up to a 5-star rating on Spotify. New episodes every Wednesday. Catch you all in the next